I wouldn't want to go into specifics, just out of respect to Ajax, obviously, that own the player. From our point of view, we're clear on what we're doing. We like to keep a lot of that in-house, what we want, who exactly we want, and who we're going for, and we prefer to keep that private as much as possible.
I know that will affect the answer to this next question, because I was going to throw another name at you, Marvin Dukes. So I know you can't speak specifically about him, but can you sort of confirm that a forward is definitely something you'll want to bring in before the deadline, and what attributes would you want that forward to have?
Absolutely. Marvin, again, a player that I know well, very good player. And I think the two strikers you're talking about are similar in that sense, obviously physical strikers, number 9s as such. So I think Marvin, again, a player that I can't talk too much about because he belongs to another club, but we do want to add to our striker options. Obviously we've had Alfie May move on, we've had Lukas Djukovic retire. We had 4 strikers competing there last season. Some could play number 10, some were just strikers, and we need a similar pool of strikers this season.
Any other positions you hope to fill before the deadline?
There's a few, and I've got a good idea of that, and we're obviously looking at players and targets in those areas, but things will come a little bit clearer, I think, in the next few weeks once we get the games going. We see where we are.
In terms of that Chuba Akpom, it's kind of being built as a real battle between yourselves and Ipswich off the pitch this week. Does that add extra spice coming into Friday night in what was already going to be a huge battle on the pitch?
Not really, no. I mean, I don't follow any of that stuff myself. Obviously, all eyes and concentration for me is on the challenge and the game ahead. Anything else that's going on externally isn't really of relevance. So like I say, there's always talk of people will say and think that they know what's going on, when actually maybe they don't know the full story. And again, that's why I don't want to sit here and start talking about players that don't belong to us, basically. We've been pretty clear all along, the players that we really want, and that hasn't changed or hasn't wavered for me, so we continue along that line.
In terms of the players you've got, how's your team news looking?
Yeah, team's looking good in the sense that, normally in pre-season you do pick up a few niggles, but we seem to have, got through them niggles quite well. There's no one that stands out. Obviously we've got Kanya Fujimoto's building his way back up from being injured when he arrived, actually, but played for the under-21 side on the weekend. Outside of that, everyone is, pretty much available, apart from the long-termers.
What can the aims be this season? Are you a team that can be challenging up there in the promotion race?
Well, for me, and I've said this a few times in the last few weeks, and I've been quite consistent with this and will continue to be, we have to be competitive, and we have to prove that we can earn points at championship level. We are a team that is a promoted team coming from League One. My style and my approach, anyone that knows me or watches me work or is with me here every day, is one day at a time, one step at a time, one game at a time. That won't change. It was the same last year, but obviously, we knew quite clearly at the start of last season where the objectives lied. This season, for me, we have to go and compete. We'll find a lot out in those first few weeks. I think it's a new league, ultimately, for this team. Some have played in there last year and 2 years ago with the squad, and obviously it was a difficult experience for some. So we're going back there. We've got to prove that we can earn points and compete first and foremost, and take it one game at a time. That's my mantra, and will continue to be so.
And it won't go much tougher than Ipswich. Do you see them as the front runners to bounce straight back up to the Premier League?
I would say so, yeah. I think they are, I would say they're the favourites. I don't know where they sit in the odds or anything like that, but yeah, for me, I would look at the continuity they have, the squad they have, the position they're in right now. I think, yes, they would be the favourites to win the title and go straight back up, from what I've seen, yeah.
Great, thank you all the best.
Thank you.
Chris, hello. Happy new season. What a great way we were discussing there to get it started. So with them being the favourites, how much will you learn on Friday night?
Well, we will. It's a measure for us because ultimately I found it last season that those first few weeks were really important, not just to measure ourselves against the opposition, but to really identify the key things we needed to be successful against the teams we were going to face. And I think we are going to learn a lot in these first few weeks. There'll be no bigger test opposition-wise to face in your very first game, being what we think are probably the favourites for the title. But we are at home, and what I wanted more than anything was a home game for the first game. Because we didn't lose a game at home last season in the league, and we're typically strong there, and hopefully that gives us that extra bit of energy that we need.
Obviously there's been a lot of action in the transfer market already this summer. You've been well backed. Have you been backed in a way to get promoted? Is that the sort of backing that you've got here? I know you want to be competitive, but is the backing enough to get you in those regions?
Well, I think where we are as a squad now, we've definitely improved the squad. We finished last season with a squad that I was obviously really happy with. Did fantastically well, but we tried to identify to increase the speed and athleticism of the team, to add more finishers and creators into the team, and to improve in set pieces as well. So there were some of the areas that we tried to base our recruitment around, rather than just going after every single player that's available. So we've definitely made progress as a squad. Again, what that means, time will tell. For me, I think this Friday will be a very interesting game for us to pitch ourselves and measure ourselves. Then we have Sheffield in the week, then we have Blackburn and Oxford and Leicester. So those 5 games are going to be good measures for us with different teams. By having a strong end to the transfer window, then I can answer that question with a little bit more conviction and clarity. I think because everything's so open and so fluid still, with 3 weeks to go of the transfer window, there's a few pieces still to go.
And I guess part of the season as well, the atmosphere will be different at St Andrews, won't it? Because there won't be that quite the same level of expectation. Fundamentally, you will be underdogs on Friday night, and that changes how it feels in the stadium, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I think the supporters I've spoken to and had dealings with are all very grounded in what we face, and just based on the reality that it's been over a decade, I think, since the team finished 10th or higher and won more than 14 odd games in a season or something like that. So it's been a while, and the team struggled. The club has struggled in the Championship for a while. There's no hiding from that. So it's a league, as I could name all the teams and how strong they can be. So we know it's a demanding, relentless, unforgiving league. So, but there is an expectation, there's an excitement. We need to capture that. We need to capitalise on that. We can't, dismiss that. But at the same time, there's a feeling that it's a big challenge ahead of us, and I sense that we're all together and aligned with that.
And just finally from me, how difficult is it to have such success in that first season with this group of players, and then break that up personally?
Well, it is. It's, very, very difficult. Like I say to the players, any decision I ever make is always professional. It's never personal, because that's professional sport, that's football. And what I've been really conscious to do is retain the core of what I felt was delivered success for us on the pitch, off the pitch. You could say Alfie May was a player that was a core part of that, but for reasons that we discussed with Alfie, he felt it was best to go and explore that opportunity to go and play regularly now in Huddersfield. But outside of that, I think we've retained the core, and the core on the pitch and how we play. The principles will be there, the personnel. So, and all we tried to do, and all I've tried to do, is add to it, not to sort of break anything up. And if I thought that core was going to be dismantled in any way, that would have been more of a concern for me. But I've been conscious not to do that, and just try to add what I believe will make us stronger.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, I think you've pretty much covered everything there. But finally, how excited are you and the team to walk out packed out St Andrews, bouncing once again? How excited are you?
Yeah, always.